We have a Fox News alert. We are getting word that at an Illinois 4th of July parade, there was a shooting that erupted. Multiple people are feared dead. We have no confirmation on the number of injuries here, no confirmation on the number who have perished. Hopefully none. Our prayers are with this community. But witnesses say that a crowd fled the sound of gunfire. Others saw at least 5 bloodied people. They were lying in the streets, according to our reporting on foxnews.com. There was another individual under a blanket. This was from the Chicago Sun-Times. We are just getting word and gathering details about this. You can see the scene just there. Once again, this is Highland, Illinois, and it evokes some memories, of course, Dr. Sapphire, of that horrific event that took place at a Christmas parade, taking us back to a holiday parade where it's supposed to be joyous and happy, and people are bringing their families, and then out of nowhere, chaos erupts. What is it like as a first responder, Dr. Sapphire, arriving on a scene like this where multiple have been wounded?
Well, Kaylee, when you have 4th of July parades or these gatherings of celebrations, there tend to be first responders on scenes just in case there are medical emergencies. Unfortunately, when something like this happens and there is chaos and you have people running in all different directions and everyone just trying to get to safety, it can actually make it a little bit more difficult for first responders. But most of the time, when you are getting to that scene, you don't know exactly what's going on. You have various different reports. But the biggest thing that you can is to make sure that people are still safe. Has the shooter been recognized? Is the shooter still there? Are people still in danger? It's hard to even get to the people who are wounded, who need help, because you don't want to put the lives and the safety of your first responders if you aren't sure that the situation is safe. So it takes a lot of communication between police, between fire, ambulance, other first responders, and everyone together. Thankfully, our law enforcement does an incredible job doing that. As we know, in Illinois, they've had a lot of defund the police movements there, and they are struggling with recruitment. They've had record retirements. So I hope that some of these worker shortages isn't affecting their ability to accurately respond to this potential tragedy. But I can tell you, people on the scene right now are likely doing everything they can to make sure that anyone who was there, they are now away from the scene, out of potential danger. And anyone who is needing medical care, they're probably going to do everything they can to remove them as well from the situation. Hospitals are likely on alert right now, multiple of them. Usually not everyone goes to the same hospital. They will tend to spread it out so hospitals don't become overwhelmed. But this is where you really see the medical community come together and do everything possible to help the police, the victims, and everyone involved, the family coming in. Everyone's going to be calling. People are scared. They want to make sure, is their loved one hurt? Is their loved one missing? So this is a time right now. I'm sure the police are doing everything they can to communicate the best and keep your family safe. At home if you can. Don't be out on the streets in this area. And if you knew someone was at the parade, do the best you can to communicate with them. And if you're not able to get a hold of them, make sure you do report that to law enforcement.
Yeah, the Highland Park Mayor, Nancy Rotering, she's tweeted this: Highland Park police are responding to an incident in downtown Highland Park. 4th Fest has been canceled. Please avoid downtown Highland Park. More information will be shared as it becomes available. I'm looking at some video here, Tammy, and you can see a marching band, and out of nowhere, you just see people start running. And yesterday, I went to a 4th of July event in a local community, and you just saw families streaming in with their picnic baskets, with their families, so happy, so joyous. And then something strikes, tragedy strikes out of nowhere, and I can't imagine what Highland Park, Illinois is going through at this moment.
Yeah, this is, of course, remember, for many, the first 4th of July that people have been able to go out and really enjoy, bring everyone together because of COVID. Something to enjoy with the family, clearly celebrating the country, but it's also because of the history of terrorism and the rhetoric in the country. We know, and no doubt, with every parade, you're going to be having security, extra security. And as you noted, Dr. Nicole, that you're going to be prepared with extra medical assistance, et cetera. We saw that with the Boston Marathon. Any major event that perhaps will get national attention, which is what some of these people are looking for. We don't know who this perpetrator is. I think there's some report. I don't think we've confirmed that it was a convicted felon. But we'll learn more about this individual. And in the aftermath, we're going to find out what failed, because something did. This is Highland Park, by the way, is about a town of about 30,000 people. just north of Chicago, about 25 miles north of Chicago, in Lake County, Illinois, which is where my mother was born. And so it's clearly a beautiful day. But I think that we see here in New York, people in New Jersey, all around this area, but around the country, special setups there for first responders, for emergency situations. People are ready for it, but there are towns that are going to have to be addressing, once again, just like with the Waukesha murders there that happened with the truck, and other shootings that occur in Copenhagen. There was a mall shooting just yesterday. I mean, these are things that cities and countries are going to have to address. We never really do, in part because we get back to the political arguments that surround these things. But these are individuals who likely, in this particular case, likely known to the police. We see that over and over again. And as a nation, we've got to begin to address this, mental health issues, et cetera. Those conversations will continue. But this does not mean that we should not enjoy our 4th of July, the classic holiday that we would expect someone to try to strike in this manner. And every city is going to have to be even more vigilant.
Yeah, for those of us just now joining us, you're looking at Highland Park, Illinois, where a 4th of July parade, there was a shooting that occurred. There have been multiple that have been wounded. That's all that we have at this very moment. Joey Jones, law enforcement that's there. You try to secure an event like this. It's very difficult in a very open environment. It's a parade, but they have a two-pronged effort immediately. One, it's saving the victims, responding to the victims, and two, finding the shooter. And we have no word yet on who the shooter is, he or her, where they might be, and the quest to apprehend them, perhaps a manhunt, but no word at the moment.
Yeah, we don't know who it is or what their motive is, and it would be irresponsible to assign anything to either one of them. But what we can say is the people that are injured, they're heroes, they're taking care of them. Anytime there's a villain, there's a hero. That's what this country is. So the first responders, police officers, they're doing the 4 life-saving steps. Start the breathing, stop the bleeding, treat the wound, treat for shock. I got the breathing and bleeding mixed up. I'm not sure. I haven't been in the Marine Corps for a while. But the idea there is in the back of your mind, it's ready to go. I've been out in the Marine Corps for 12 years, and something like this happened in front of me. I'm going to be there and try to help. There are hundreds of thousands, if not millions of Americans who have a little bit of training that will go a long way in these situations. That's just a positive thing to think about, that anytime someone's injured, there's somebody there to help them. That's who we are. That's what we do. There's evil in this world, and there's evil in this country. These are people we have to stomp out. We've got to put them behind bars and keep them there. If this person had any kind of record that could have kept them in jail, whoever got them out has to worry about that. If they had any kind of record that could have shown they had this type of motive, see something, say something. Stop this from happening every way we can.
Yeah, Highland Park, Illinois. For those of you watching, take a moment from your 4th of July. Say a prayer for this community. We know multiple have been shot. We pray that there are no victims that succumb to their wounds and that this shooter is found. Highland Park, Illinois. More outnumbered in just a moment.